My name is Jared Bechdoldt, and I am the Authorized Channel Partner and Certified Integrator Content and Program Developer. A whole lot of words. In short, I work with our partners in the field to make sure that they're qualified to support you with your projects and to support you post-installation. Today, we're going to take a little bit of time. We're going to dive into who is ASSA ABLOY and what we can do for you. Today's challenges that you and everybody else are facing. And then we're going to look into what is Aperio system architecture. We're going to dive into products and applications, and then finally resources. So once you leave this meeting today, what is accessible for you to gain more knowledge, and where can we support you moving forward? So ASSA ABLOY is the global leader in access solutions. We have operating companies in over 70 countries and 49,000 employees. Every day, we're helping billions of people experience a more open world. So diving in a little more narrow and focusing in on North America, the door security solutions offerings are some of these brands right here, many in which you're probably using right now and don't even realize. So moving from the names and actually going to more of a visual inspection, we have what's here is called the curb to core. So from the exterior of your building, we have energy efficient doors, frames, gasketing, door pulls. And then as you move into your space, again, we have mechanical hardware, door closers. And then when we get into the access control world, we have components like electric strikes, mag locks, power supplies. And then we move into what we're going to focus in today is integrated hardware or wireless locks and cabinet locks, things like that. So there are many segments out there, each having their own unique challenges. We have education, government. That's going to be far different from a retail space or a multifamily. But with that, we have teams. So we have 19 sales offices around the United States and in Canada. Each one has a team of a sales team, a technical team when it comes to electronics and things like that. We have architectural consultants that work with your architects that you're currently working for now. We have hardware specifiers. So really the idea is not only are we a one-stop shop for product, but also services. So we're there to guide you through the decision-making plan. And then we're also there to help you in creating those specs, working with the architects, guiding you through the distribution channel for purchase paths, and then training the guys that are going to be out in the field doing your installation and supporting you on the back end. So speaking to those partners, you see three icons here, and I try not to do abbreviations, but inevitably I'm going to, so I apologize. But first off, we have the access control partner or an authorized channel partner. So these are going to be your access control software company. So currently, if you have a camera system or you're running some form of access control, odds are they're already one of our partners. And then in addition, where you're buying your mechanical hardware now, so your cylindrical locks or your mortise locks, your crash bars or exit bars, these are our partners. They're going to be able to sell the product to you. And then we have our certified integrators. So right now, these are the people that are probably doing your installation for your card access system now, or your cameras, possibly doing your fire alarms or your burglar alarms. So what we do, and a large focus is on my part, is we go in and we train these companies. We teach them how to do surveys, how to get qualified to do installations. More importantly, making sure they're committed to be there post-installation to support you. And then finally, we have preferred installers. So these are skilled locksmiths that have gone through trainings, and they do the installation sometimes for you, sometimes for the certified integrator, but their sole purpose is just to get good quality installations for the project. So speaking to these, when somebody tells you they're a certified integrator or a preferred installer for ASSA ABLOY, this means that they've devoted some serious amount of time as a company for training, for taking tests, and they've put a large commitment into working with us and moving our products out into the world for us. So these are some of the partners that currently have integrations. So when I say integrations, these are software companies. We are a hardware manufacturer. So we make hardware that these companies here will write integrations. So if you currently have this access control system, the products we're going to be talking about today would be a streamlined integration into what you're already doing now. But don't worry, if you do not see the access control system that you have, there are options for that. And we actually might be working on an integration, and I just haven't got that note yet. So diving into some of the challenges we run into. When we're talking mainly about a retrofit application, right? So many of us now are in the middle of upgrading our access control because of these times. So when you think of running wire, the tight deadlines, the budget constraints, right? The idea of when you buy a product now, is it right for you now, and that money is well spent, but also future proofing. So if you change direction in the future, are you still confident in making that appropriate purchase? And then non-traditional applications. So we have those doors, but what about the ideas locking up server cabinet locks or medical records or HR documents, things like that. So what we're looking at here is what we would call traditional access control. So for this purpose, think of every one of those dotted blue lines as at least 2 wires running through a wall or through a ceiling. So in every scenario, we're going to have an access control. So that's going to be sitting in an IT room or maybe a security office. And then from there, it's networked through your building or through your facility or possibly even a city, right? Depending on what you're looking to secure. But focusing our eyes on a building, and let's say we're going to go to floor 2, you're going to have an IT closet and it's going to have an access control panel on it. And then from there, you're going to have a 2-door controller or a door controller that's going to be sitting up in the ceiling down a hallway, and that's tied to this door. So what we're looking at here is you have a wall reader that's a Wiegand card reader. You have an electrified strike. So when a card is presented and it gets a valid card read or a green light, most of the time, that latch is going to unlock for a certain amount of time and allow you access into the door. For monitoring purpose, we have the DPS or the door position switch. That's letting you know if that door is closed. And then on the top there, you have the REX or the request to exit. So what that does is when you leave the inside of a door, when you open that door, it shunts the DPS alarm so it does not send an alarm saying somebody is breaking in. So this is traditional access control. It definitely has its place, and it's primarily the go-to for new installations. But when you have a retrofit application, this is when it gets challenging because you have possibly solid core doors that you need to drill. You have cement-filled frames, cinder block walls, asbestos. You might be on a time constraint to where you can't spend all this time in man hours and money. And so this is where the Aperio application really shows its value. So if we're looking from left to right, you're still going to have that access control system that you're traditionally used to using. You're going to have your access control panel and that door controller. The big difference is from that door controller, we have what's called a communication hub, or hub for short. So that's going to sit up on your wall or on your ceiling, not unlike a smoke detector. And then from there, it's going to wirelessly communicate to the door. So the big cost savings is once you get to that ceiling point, you're no longer moving down to the door. So it is a secure encrypted communication over 802.15. So I want to be clear, this is not a Wi-Fi solution. This is a separate solution that runs near the same channels as Wi-Fi. One added benefit to this is if you're in a location where you might have some interference from RF, maybe it's a industrial microwave, or if you're in a hospital or a university space, you might have some equipment that's sending out RF signals and it's jamming the communication and not giving a good customer experience. The benefit to the Aperio is you can actually go into the programming tool and do a test and adjust the signal for that specific hub and that specific 50-foot region. And so each one of your hubs in the ceiling, when it's communicating to those doors, you can maximize the efficiency for those moving forward. So not only are you saving a large amount of time without having to go down to the door, you have an integrated lock set, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, that makes for a much cleaner and quicker installation, which is going to save you time, which eventually is going to save you money. So because of that, when you think of wiring a building for access control, you're going to see numbers 3,000 to 5,000, sometimes more. It really just depends on the situation and what really needs to be done. So in looking at this little crude image here, we have 3 large circles, which traditionally we would want to secure. These are going to be the exteriors of a building or maybe some main access hallways. The benefit of using Aperio, not only are you going to save time and money in the installation, but utilizing the hub technology, since it's wireless, you can actually add additional doors for a lot lower cost. So to the right, you're going to see a few images of some of the products that we're going to dive into here in a little bit. But first, I want to focus in on hub technology, our communication hubs. So we have 3 forms of hubs. The first one is traditional Wiegand wiring. So just like your access control system, this hub, the back of it has a little block, and you wire it the exact same way you would a traditional door. The benefit to this is this works on pretty much any access control system. So if you were one of the ones that didn't see your access control system on that list, don't worry, this hub would allow you to use this technology. So if you see next to the hub, you're going to see a 1-to-1. So this means 1 hub per 1 locking device. So it could be a door, it could be a cabinet lock, it could be a wireless reader. We're going to get into those. But the idea is no matter what, you could use this hub on any access control system. So speaking to the Wiegand Hub, there's 2 forms. There's unconfigured hubs, meaning they're not paired to a lock, so they're a universal hub. But we also have kits that are pre-paired. So if you wanted to buy this hub in the picture that's already paired to a cabinet lock, for instance, or a server cabinet lock, or a battery-powered electric strike, you could go to one of our partners, just buy that off the shelf, bring it back, and install it on your own. Jumping into our next hub technology, it's called the RS485. So this is a 1-to-16 OEM dependent. Worst case, it's a 1-to-8. So we've presented these out to our partners, but due to COVID, it slowed down the process. But it's my understanding that most of these have already been officially approved now. So if you were to have an access control system and you spoke to your salesperson and they said, yes, they're approved for the ASSA ABLOY RS45, you could do 16 doors or locking devices to that 1 hub. So you're really leveraging the benefit to this. Think of being in a hallway and there's 12 doors going down a hallway. If you were to put this in the center of the hallway, you have the ability to capture 16 doors all at once. So one wire to the center of the room, and then from there, you just install the integrated hardware to the door itself. So you're leveraging your existing infrastructure. And if you have those empty spaces, if you decide to add anything down in the future, all you do is pair it to the hub. Also, the other benefit to using RS-45 is you can daisy chain. So with RS-45, you can go up to 3,000 feet. So if you have that long hallway, you can put one communication hub at the beginning of the hallway where you have a door or two. And then let's say the next one's at the end of the hallway, you can just run the cabling to the hub down the hallway. And once you mount that hub, now you can just install your locks wherever you choose, and they would pair into that lock. And our final integration when it comes to hub is our IP hub. This goes directly into your network, and it is a Cat5e or a Cat6 cable. And this will allow you to do up to 64 locking devices at a time. So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to show you here in a second. The read range is 50 feet for a hub. So typically where we're going to see this is when it comes to cabinet locks. So we're seeing a rise in mailboxes, for instance, at a university. So instead of issuing out keys to people, they're now using their credential that they're using to get into the building and get into their dorm rooms. They're using that to get their mail. Or if you go to a site and you have lockers, instead of having actual independent mechanical locks, they're putting these cabinet locks on there. So it's giving a higher level of security of when people get in and if somebody's trying to tamper that. So those are our 3 hub types. Now I briefly wanted to talk about how the RF signal goes out from our hubs. So starting on the left, you're going to see one sitting on the wall without an antenna. That is how hubs come in the box. Traditionally, how we see this is they go on the wall, higher up towards the ceiling, and it's shooting down hallways or across rooms, things like that. So this room is 50 by 50. So you look, we almost have a football shape going out 50 feet, right? Behind it, you're going to have some, almost think of it as a basketball if we're sticking with the sports theme, right? But with that, it's not just line of sight. So we are confident that this can go 50 feet through 2 normally constructed walls. I personally, with our new V3 products, I've seen them go much farther. But at the same time, it could be working fantastic. And then somebody makes a change and they might bring in a piece of tool or a piece of equipment, and that's all of a sudden going to start interfering with the channels. So traditionally, we're going to see this going down hallways. If you have a situation where you want to try and encompass everything in a certain room, you'll see that we have an antenna plugged into this. This is just an external antenna. And in this application, you would want to put it up on the ceiling as much in the center as possible, and it would create a donut effect. So the idea now is you're trying to encompass everything in a room. So by utilizing the antenna or not the antenna, when we do surveys, we can work with you and or your certified integrator could come out and do a survey with you, and we have kits, and they could go through and they could give a strong action item of what the plan of attack would be, so you have a realistic idea and expectation of things moving forward. So here's a snapshot of our actual product line. So starting on the left, we have the IN100, which is an integrated lock set, and then we're going to work our way through to our new ES100, which is an electric strike. So the IN100 is an amazing lock. So it's an integrated lock. So if we think back to what we're calling that traditional access control. You had that card reader on the wall, you had an electrified lock set in the door, or you're going to have an electric strike in the door frame. You're going to have that door position switch, right? That DPS at the top of the door. And then you're going to have your request to exit, or your REX, that's monitoring when people are coming out. So all those are separate components. All those are separate wire runs. When it comes to the IN100 lock, it's all built into one. So if you look there right above the cylinder, you're going to see that reader. So being that ASSA ABLOY is a large company, we partner with all of our other partners and we trade information. So that wall reader that you're using, and if it's an HID multi-class SE reader, that's the same exact reader you're going to get right here. So that universal, that future-proof. So this reader comes with NFC. So if you buy a reader at all, you'd be able to use your mobile device, assuming it's not an iPhone. We do have an option that you can get the Bluetooth feature added in. So now you're future-proof. So if you ever think there's an idea that you're going to go to a mobile and move away from a physical credential, you could have that already in the lock. So you're future-proofing yourself when it comes to a technology standpoint. Looking at the rest of the lock, that lever on the outside is locked. When you present a credential, it gives you a green LED. That's going to unlock. You're going to be able to gain access to that door and it's going to lock. When you're leaving that same room, when you push the lever down on the inside of the door, the request to exit is built into the lever. So it's a real clean, aesthetically pleasing look. So now you're shunting those alarms. For the door position switch, there's a little sensor you can't see in this actual picture, but it's in the frame of the door. It would be about even with the reader going across. So looking at it, it's all component, it's all self-contained, real clean. So moving on from a component driven, this is a battery powered lock. So it's running on 6 AA alkaline batteries. For the IN100, we only use alkaline. It has to do with battery management and being able to send alarms so that the lock won't die in the field. With that, we're seeing 2 years. So going back to Aperio and how it operates, your hub is hardwired to your access control system, getting those instantaneous changes. The lock itself has a heartbeat. It comes from the factory at 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds, that lock is reaching out to that communication hub and asking if there's a change. That can be moved down to 5 seconds if you feel like that's a need for you. If you have a door that you sometimes like to do a remote unlock and you want a little quicker transactional time, or if you're not comfortable with a wireless lockdown, a global lockdown at 10 seconds, you could lower that down. The battery life will shrink some, but again, it's a value proposition. And being that this is a universal lock, if you find that 10 seconds is too long, you can simply go into the software, program it, and make it be a shorter life, and vice versa. So speaking to the lockdown, remote lockdown in less than 10 seconds. So this can be used in a school situation or somewhere where you want a global lockdown ability. It also has the feature for a privacy or a shelter in place or a localized lockdown. So you'll see the picture I just added here. You're going to see a red light. So on the back side of this lock, let's say this is a single occupancy bathroom. You go into this bathroom and you push this button on the back. It's going to light up red. Now it's going to lock all the credentials out from the outside. Think of it as a digital deadbolt. So if I normally have access to this bathroom and somebody's in it, I won't be able to get in until they release the lever and open up the door, and that's going to reset the lock. So there is ways to get in, right? Key override is always going to be on our hardware. So if somebody has a master level key, whether it be an engineer or a security, they would be able to get in. Also, we have override credentials for a maintenance team, a custodial team, or again, going back to that security team. So if there is an incident, you will always be able to get in there and take care of that need. And then finally, what I want to talk about is the smart credential cache. You're going to hear me talk about this for all of our V3 products. So the smart credential cache allows you to set up a designated set of credentials that if the EAC system is not talking to the lock, so whether the power goes out, whether you know, a wire got snipped, whatever that may be, for whatever reason, if the lock is not talking to the hub, it will have a set of credentials that it'll save, and it'll allow those people to go through the door. It won't be giving you alarms or anything like that, but it's going to allow them to go through in a normal day of business so things don't get obstructed. And then as soon as that power is either turned back on or that communication is live again, it's going to reach out and it's going to give all of its updates, and it's going to take any new changes that you made in that meantime. Finally, the IN100, you can get as mortise lock as it's shown here, also cylindrical, rim exit, and mortise exit. And these are brought from SARGENT and Corbin Russwin hardware variants. Jumping into the K100. So you see a picture here, it's laying on its side. So this is being used as a drawer, right? It also can be vertical and used in a cabinet door application. So this is fantastic. So think you walk into your building, you go into your office, and you sit down. Now all your paperwork is secured inside of these cabinets. So if it's HR documentation or something you're working on, you present that same credential that you used to get into the front door, into your office, and now you're using that same credential inside of your office. If you were to lose that credential or that person was to get let go, they could just delete that, and when that new person moves in, they would issue them a new credential. So now you're taking keying out of the equation. So these run on 2 AA lithium batteries, and they get 50,000 cycles. So for monitoring, there's latch status monitoring. And again, just like our IN100, this is the same reader. So if you are looking to use your phone or something down the future, again, you can make this purchase and know that you're future-proof moving forward. Just showing a little picture here. This is being used in employee locker room, right? We're starting to see these used more and more in university space or a hospital where there's security. You know, think of it as a mini evidence closet. We're seeing these used in K-12 situations where kids' insulin, you know, and medicines are being kept. So now they're keeping logs in those, any kind of HR records. So this is just utilizing the extra space that's in that communication hub that's already running your doors. Now you're just using those extra key spots to put in and secure more levels inside of your building. The KS100 or server cabinet lock. So more and more you go into an IT closet, it's going to have access control on that closet. But once you get into that closet, there's no access control in there. I personally, I'm a little bit tall. I'm 6'6". So I can see the keys sitting on top of the cabinets. So more and more now with everything going digital, and there's these massive server farms, and more than one company is using these servers. When somebody goes into these rooms, you know you're going to have the confidence that if they try to go somewhere they're not supposed to, you're going to get an alarm, and you can use that to your customers if for some confidence. So again, these are 2 AA lithium batteries. It mounts right to the actual server cabinet door. And think of it as like a cam lock that you would see just like your K100, so a cabinet lock or a jewelry cabinet lock, really similar to that. An additional one that I really find fantastic is if you're involved with server cabinets at all, they usually have some panels that pop out on the sides or the tops or the back. So as an added monitor, you can order almost like arms that go out and they sit on those. So if somebody tries to pop a panel out or work around the actual lock, you're going to get an alarm that somebody's trying to tamper and get in there. Again, with this, and I'm sorry I didn't mention it with the cabinet lock, the K100, but just like the K100, both of these locks can do key override. And they do have a port on the side. If you were to ignore those battery alarms that we're sending you and the visual indication when the lock gets down to a 30% and you present your card, it's going to go green and let you in, but then it's also going to give you a little flash, a yellow and a red, just to kind of trigger your eye so that ideally you're going to look and you're going to call IT and say, hey, this lock's acting funny. And what it's doing is it's trying to give you visual indications at that specific door that the batteries are dying. So you need to be prepared for that. Moving on to the G100, or the glass door. So more and more we're finding conference rooms are all glass. So when people are designing their buildings now, they're looking for a sleek, almost fishbowl kind of feel. But when it comes to securing those, traditionally we have an electric strike that might go in the floor or the ceiling, and those are real labor intensive. And so we might do what's called a mag lock, where it's magnets holding the door shut. But then again, they spent all this money for an aesthetic look, and they don't want things bogging up their ceiling and everything else. So what we have here is the G100, and it almost looks like iPhone Plus, right? So right underneath that ASSA ABLOY logo is a touchpad, just like an iPhone or any other kind of smartphone. And then below that kind of divider line, you'll see a little emblem of a rectangle. It's a credential. So that's where you can put your card. So this is a dual validation reader if you want it to be. So, you know, something you know and something you have. So you have your credential, and then you might also have to type in a 4 or 8-digit PIN, or you just want the ability to use the PIN or the card, whatever's easiest at that time. The beauty of this lock is there's no drilling, no pulling wires. It's run on 4 AA batteries, alkaline, and it's a compression fit. So you just walk up and tighten it. If you have a door that might have a little wider gap, don't worry, we got you covered. We actually make extension rods for the deadbolt, so we make sure we can make that connection. Again, this has the request to exit and the door positioning, right, or the DPS. So you can have these monitored of when the office is being used. If somebody left the door open, you know, let's say everybody went to lunch and everybody left their computers and such in there, we want to make sure those things are going to be secured when they leave. So we've been talking about the V3 products. This is one of our legacy products. It's been around for a while. This is for aluminum storefront doors. So the idea behind this is when you go into a convenience store or something like that, right? You're gonna have the aluminum doors with the big glass panel. It's real open, airy, and bright. The problem is when it actually needs to secure it, you only have a couple of inches. So a standard IN 100 lock or PR 100 that we're going to talk about here in a second, they won't fit on that vertical piece, or the style as we call it. So we have this offering. It's real narrow style. It's a direct replacement. It runs on 4 AA batteries, 60,000 cycles. The one caveat is, being that this is one of our legacy technologies, it doesn't have that multi-class reader, so it doesn't have that future proof. So if you're ordering this lock, it's going to be in an I class or a high frequency, or it's going to be low frequency or proc. So we're seeing this kind of moving away because traditionally people are wanting to future proof themselves. But so I just want to say this is an option, but I just want to warn you that it's going to have a different functionality when it comes to the reader. To that point, if you are going to be building and using storefront doors, I highly recommend just getting wider styles. It won't change the appeal of it that much, I promise. But when you go forward and try to secure this door, especially with access control, it's going to make your life so much easier moving forward. And then finally, for our V2 products, it's the PR100. So this was the first generation of the IN100, if we want to call it. And currently, right now, if you're looking for a dual validation on a cylindrical or a mortise or a rim exit, this is the offering we have. We're roadmapped with some fantastic additions coming. But currently right now, if you really have to have dual validation, this is going to be the lock for you. So again, it has the keypad, something you know, and then something you have would be your credential. But just like the A100 that we just talked about, it runs on procs or I-class. So it doesn't have that future-proof capability. But again, just wanted to let you know that we have that offering if you need it. And then moving into what possibly might be my favorite product right now is the R100. So this is just a battery powered reader. So it has an adhesive on the back. So when it comes to a glass door, for instance, like a big Herculite door, again, going into an office building where it has these big, beautiful glass doors, and let's say they do have that electric strike or that mag lock that's securing it, but they don't want to walk over to the wall that's several feet away, present their credential, and then have to walk all the way back over to the door. So this thing can just stick right to the glass, and it has a back cover that matches the same finish of whatever hardware you have on there. But this is just a reader. So it runs on 2 AA batteries, 50,000 cycles, but really it's the features of where it's being able to use. So see it sitting here on a door, where we're seeing it more and more, especially in the times we're in now, right? We all keep hearing about it, but we're all going touchless. So when it comes to logging in, so at school districts, instead of people going through and writing names down, now students are walking through, and when they walk into a class, this little reader sitting on a teacher's desk, and the kids are just presenting their school badges, and that's reading their badges. If somebody's going in for an HR meeting and they want to know who was there, they do this reader. If somebody's on a tram and there's a COVID outbreak and they're trying to figure out who this person's been in contact with, every person that hopped on that tram the same time that that student or that adult was on there, they're going to reference that because they're scanning these readers. So these can be used in a number of places, and I just think it's fantastic, and it's my favorite products going right now. So to that, tying in the new R100, we have our newest product, the ES100. So this is an electric strike. So anybody that's done traditional access control knows what an electric strike is. You guys, if you remember from the picture before, that's the actual mechanism that when you present your credential and you get a valid card read, that green light, this is going to unlock and allow you to pull the door open. So now we have a feature that's battery powered, right? So no more running wires. So where this reader is here on this blue section, there's a little hole that's got a wire running to the electric strike. And again, being powered by 2 AA lithium batteries, 45,000 cycles. So you're utilizing your hub that's up in the ceiling, and these are going to be for doors where you don't need that shelter in place, right? So we have the IN 100 that has the privacy button if you want to be able to lock credentials out. If you have a request to exit need, so when people are leaving and coming in and out, this doesn't have that feature. But if you're looking to add access control to additional rooms like storage closets or copy rooms, rooms where you don't need that higher level of all the bells and whistles, this is a fantastic option. It's a HES 1500 or 1600 if you're familiar with electric strikes. And it comes with multiple faceplates for different offerings. So you would be able to use this with an existing mortise lock, an existing cylindrical lock. It just currently won't work with an exit device. So that's all of our products, just in a quick overview. So I wanted to talk about resources. So what do you do from now moving forward? So we have this little cheat sheet here, and you can find this on our websites, but this is just a quick once over. You know, we talked about Aperio in that first line, but we also have integrated Wiegand, which is typically going to be a new construction when somebody wants that traditional Wiegand wiring. But again, moving towards the aesthetic of just having everything in one cohesive unit. We have Wi-Fi locks and we have PoE locks. So each one has its own unique features and benefits. So here's a little cheat sheet. You can find it on Intelligent Openings on our customer support app. But this is really just a reference. So as you're going about doing your surveys, or you're thinking about what your needs would be, this is something that will hopefully be able to help you out. Again, we have websites for all of our brands. So we had SARGENT, Corbin, Russwin, Adams Wright, HES, Securitron. These are all the access control products that we're talking about. But a one-stop shop is if you go to intelligentopenings.com, it'll have all that product information. So I took a little screen grab, but if you look to the left there, you have you know, data on card, intelligent Wi-Fi, real-time wireless, which is what Aperio is, right? So it's wireless from the ceiling to the door, but you're getting real-time communications. You can get that wireless lockdown, right, that we're all looking for. So intelligentopenings.com is a place that I would push you to go to. And while you're there, you can go to the EAC Configurator. So we see there in the little red box, that's a part number, and that's a serious part number. So that's one of the biggest challenges is you know what you want, but how do you explain what you want? So this is a fantastic tool. You can go through and it'll ask you questions just like that first PDF showed you, but now this is an interactive way for you to go through and pick your product. Here it's asking you what finish, and it's going to show you images of levers of that particular finish, right? And then it's going to ask you what lever do you want. And then at the end, down in the bottom right, you can download, you can email this to your architect, you could email this to you know, one of your certified integrators, whoever you're working with, and they're going to have this part number that you want, and then they can bring that to us locally in the field, and we'll be able to confirm that part number and double check things with you. Finally, the customer support app. So this is a free app. You can download it on Google Play or the Apple Store, and everything I just talked about is accessible through this one app. And even better, once you log in, it has all the emails and phone numbers for all of our product lines. So no longer do you have to go to a unique website or Google. You can just go into this app. You can do a live chat with somebody, an interactive video. And then we also have a huge resource center that we're actively looking to build. So if you're looking for catalogs or installation instructions, installation videos of certain products. So I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Built, but it's a 3D installation guides, and the IN100 product that we talked about is on there, and the EAC Configurator is a line that you can grab from there. So whether it's mechanical or electronic, I highly recommend you get this app because it's a one-stop shop for ASSA ABLOY as a whole. Finally, Chad mentioned it before, but training and certification. We have an amazing team that you can go through and do virtual trainings right now. And then once things open back up, I'm sure we'll get back to the hands-on training, but it's just an invaluable tool. And I definitely recommend you follow up with that. So with that, that's all I have. If there are questions, if there's time, we can do that. If not, I have my email and contact info here. Please feel free to email me or reach out to me. I'll answer any questions. And again, going back to, we have a large sales team all around the country. If you have questions, we would love to come in person and present, let you actually see the locks, maybe do a survey or whatever that may lead to. But we're just here for you, and would be excited about the opportunity.